Hello, welcome back, my favorite movement enthusiasts, to another episode of Peak Efficiency Exercises, where we will be taking a single exercise and going through all of its benefits. And today I have one of the most powerful ones when it comes to leg strength, static strength, and mobility that is going to help you out immensely. I would put it on par with the deep squat, which we talked about last week. So let's start out with form and then go into all the benefits the horse stance will give us, and then go through different exercises that we can add to the horse stance to make it more effective, to add some dynamic and static elements that are not usually given if you only go with the main stance itself. Before we lower down into the horse stance itself, we will start by tilting our pelvis to get into lumbar spinal extension. This is going to keep us from rounding our back the deeper we go into the movement pattern. Next up, we will lower down until our femur is lower than parallel to the ground, which means that our hip crease is lower than our knees. As you can see, upper body fully extended, chest popping out. And if you want to add upper body elements as well, you can go with the extension, you can go with the classic Shaolin, pulling in your arms and flexing your upper body as well. Now you're actively pushing your knees outwards and following your toes when it comes to the direction, meaning if you only have the mobility to turn your feet slightly outwards, then be sure that your knees follow the same direction. As for stance width, that will totally depend on your own mobility. I suggest starting out in a little bit farther apart than shoulder width. Turn your feet slightly outward, change into this high squat position, and then we're gonna start turning our heels outwards and then our feet. Align our knees with our feet in the direction. If you have more mobility to go from here, go for another step. Open up, push your knees outward. As long as they can follow your feet when it comes to the direction, you're doing pretty great. Once you go too far out, you're gonna notice that your knees start moving inwards, which is gonna be a little bit too far for our hips. When it comes to the mobility, you can help out slightly by pushing your knees outwards with your elbows, but I would suggest staying in the position where our knees are fully aligned with our toes. Now, what makes the horse stance so powerful is that it is a full body isometric exercise that requires mobility in different parts of your body, as well as total concentration to be able to hold it for prolonged periods of time. For one, we require ankle mobility enough to go into a high squat without our heels raising from the ground, meaning you require a little bit more ankle mobility as usual. Next up, we require enough hip mobility to go into external rotation and to lower down lower than parallel to the ground with our femur. This is over time going to increase your range of motion when it comes to your hips and sitting down all the way, even in an open stance. Additionally, we are training our spinal erectors through extension and holding that position, which is going to help us over time strengthen our spinal erectors enough to be able to activate and deactivate them at will, and changing from spinal flexion to spinal extension with a longer range of motion than we had before. As for the upper body, the more you tense up and add additional elements, the harder it's going to be, and of course the more isometric strength you will be building in your upper body as well. This doesn't just make the horse stance an amazing exercise for people who want to build lower body strength, but also who want to work on their mobility, for instance, for the straddle or the pancake fold, for the pike position, or even for the splits. Because one of the main things we require for that one is hip mobility. And the horse stance helps us out with that a lot. You would think those are already enough benefits, but there are still more, especially when it comes to your mind and resilience. Being able to stand in this position for longer periods, you're gonna notice after a while the shaking and the lack of strength in the isometric part, and we're gonna lose the tension, and keeping it up requires a lot of mental fortitude, which we're gonna be building as well. And that is always a great bonus to have with any sort of strength or strength related training that we do. There is a reason why Shaolin monks stay in this position for sometimes hours and hours without end, because it builds all kinds kinds of strength, mobility, and resilience, and we can use that to our own benefit. Let's address some of the details we can go into regarding form and duration. When it comes to duration, I would just suggest get into a horse stand, hold it as long as you can, take a short break, and repeat it as often as you would like. Just add it to your leg workout repertoire and your leg workouts with it. Or if you work more in the calisthenics way, like I do, then you can definitely just build an entire workout around the horse stance where you do 10 minutes, and that will be enough for horse stance training. It's gonna add your mobility and isometric strength, and over time you're gonna have all kinds of additional benefits, like being able to go into the deep squat, being able to do all of these mobility requiring exercises. Now, to make sure that you don't cheat, we have a little stick here that we're gonna put right there on our hip crease. Now, if you start to go too high to compensate for a lack of strength, you're gonna lose your stick, and that is a good way to find out if you're staying low enough in the position. As you can see here, we have to be lower than parallel for the stick to stay in place. Now, I did promise that we're gonna add specific exercises to the horse stance to be able to work a little bit more dynamically in between our sets, or maybe just work on dynamic horse stance starting positions that require the leg strength, as we said, but can also help us build more mobility and more strength through different techniques and rotations. Number one, being able to get on your tiptoes and hold the horse stance here will require a lot more strength in your calves as well, and require a lot more balance. So all those small stabilizer muscles are gonna have a nice little workout when you're standing like so. Not to mention that your feet muscular is gonna start getting stronger, which is always a bonus. Be it if you're doing heavy squats where you need your feet to be standing on ground. If you are working on fighting or climbing or any of those things, you're gonna need a lot of strength in your feet, and this is gonna help you build it as well. Now, additionally from here, we can start adding internal hip rotation, bringing our knee down and reversing the movement. Maybe hold the horse stance for 10 seconds and move on to the other side. Internal rotation and reverse. We're always keeping the same depth. Now we're working more on our hip mobility, on our knee, as well as our ankle mobility, which is not gonna only help us with the horse stance going forward, but also with all kinds of other lower body exercise routine. Then we have the sway. The sway is gonna help us add more hip mobility and knee mobility, as well as ankle mobility through ankle flexion and relaxation. So we can just hold it here and sway side to side. And trust me, even though this movement is really tiny, you're gonna notice after 10 to 20 seconds, it's not as easy as it looks. If you still have space in your workout repertoire, be it in your leg days or calisthenics days or whatever, to add the horse stance, I would highly suggest you do this and play with it a little bit. Maybe you'll even find different variations you can add to it that make it more fun or even more exhausting and harder. That's what she said. Sadly, however, my lovely friends, this is all the time we have left for you today. But if you like the video and subscribe, and check out other videos on this channel, because we have new ones every single day. Until tomorrow, Captain Cairo, peace out.